Hello everyone, today you'll hear an interesting story. I guess the suburbs of this small provincial town were very beautiful. The blue water of the river sparkled in the sun. Wild ducks were swimming, echoing among themselves. The sky was changeable and independent of everyone. On the other side of the river grew tall trees, the tops of which swayed slightly in the wind. Admiring this beauty, Victoria thought about what to tell her parents, because she was fired from her job. She was always irresponsible, neglected her work, and never even in 5 years of work came on time. She was an ordinary woman with short white hair. Her eyes were like the sky. She was not particularly beautiful, but she considered herself beautiful and worthy of a better life. Victoria did not like to work, so she often did not go to work, looking for excuses. She liked going on dates the most. She liked well-to-do men who would spend all their money on her because she never stayed long at any job. That's how men were her target. Not younger guys, not even peers. She just didn't take them seriously. The main features of her chosen one should be a beautiful hairstyle, expensive clothes, a pleasant perfume, and of course a beautiful figure. Her next lover was 18 years older than her. It was her friend's father. Victoria wished their relationship had lasted longer because he paid for all her frivolities and gave her cash. But everything ends quickly, especially when you don't know how to behave properly with people. Due to her character and arrogance, she changed men very often, loving to do various mean things at the end. In the pharmacy where Victoria worked, the director was her lover. Once, having easily seduced him, she worked right there. But the lover somehow found out about her infidelity and dismissed Victoria from both her job and his life. After this job, there were several more, but she never stayed for more than a month. Having become unemployed, she decided to move to a new city and posted her resume on various websites. She wanted to work as a pharmacist, as it was her specialty, and she was too lazy to learn something new. Until then, without a job, she needed to find a way to support herself. Therefore, she began to look for another sponsor, which turned out to be very successful when she met Roman. He was a tall man with dark hair, broad shoulders, good looks, and most importantly, a large wallet. He always smelled of expensive cologne. After spending many nights together and getting everything she wanted, Victoria thought she deserved better. In other words, she was already tired of Roman. He began to take an interest in her free time and tried to control her, which the woman did not like very much. Having told Roman about this in the morning, she packed her things and left him. It was a real shock for the man. He did not understand anything, because he managed to love a woman very much and could not imagine his life without her. After this love, Roman shut himself up and no one saw him for a long time. Meanwhile, Victoria was not sad and fell in love with her new man again. Without benefit for her, this relationship, of course, would not have started. The woman needed a job, as she was kicked out of her previous one due to insufficient funds in the cash register. Having learned from acquaintances that the owner of a pharmaceutical company was recently looking for workers, she aimed to get a new workplace and waited for the right moment. And here it came. At the other end of the city, the construction of a new branch of a well-known pharmaceutical company had been completed. A grand opening was expected, followed by a buffet. You could only get there by invitation. However, this did not stop Victoria. After fooling the two guards at the entrance, the woman boldly stepped inside. Everything here looked at a high level. There was a beautiful photo zone, large bouquets of roses, expensive tableware, and handsome waiters. After looking at the men for a moment, she remembered why she came here and began to look for her main goal. Victoria fixed her gaze on a man of medium height with blonde hair and clear and pleasant features. It was Vladimir, the owner of a large pharmaceutical company. After straightening her already short dress, Victoria approached him. She was not one of the timid women, and she always had enough courage. Taking her man by the arm, Victoria took him aside. Having charmed the currently single businessman with her sexy and promising look, the woman interested him immediately. The man could not restrain his desire to take over Victoria's body, to spend a wild night with her, so he openly voiced his proposal. Victoria did not refuse, as she perfectly understood that her future depended on it. Soon the woman received a high position. She was not liked in the office. Everything would be fine if she didn't want more. Victoria now had access to Volodimir's documentation as his assistant. She also learned that he had many competitors, among whom was one richer than him. The name of the main competitor was Aya, a cunning woman, reviewing information about her husband in detail, decided to improve her financial situation even more. Victoria loved big money. The main thing was to act carefully so that no one would guess anything. Victoria found Aya's phone number. She called him and offered to meet because she had interesting information for him. The man agreed, and after some time sitting at a table in a cafe, he carefully reviewed the papers that the woman had brought. Looking at her, he kept trying to understand why she was doing this. Victoria made every effort to have a good relationship with Aya. She needed to gain trust, but she never suspected that Aya had a brilliant mind and good intuition. The man was successful in business for a reason. He never trusted anyone, and it was difficult to deceive him. This situation spared him, and he decided to play along with Victoria in order to find out her true motives. Victoria and Aya secretly met several times and came to a common opinion: to destroy Volodimir's business. Aya decided to play along with Victoria and see what would come of it. He promised that Victoria would become the owner of one of the main branches. Volodimir did not suspect anything because he loved Victoria deeply and always consulted with her. The woman had everything she wanted, but the thought of becoming the owner of a chain of pharmacies was even better. In addition, Volodimir was also tired of her. She never dated anyone for a long time, and once she got what she wanted, she left men. Victoria considered herself smart and thought she knew everything in advance. However, she underestimated the capabilities of other people. Igor and Volodimir, although competitors, had a man's honor and loyal assistants by their side. One evening, Igor called Volodimir and offered to meet, asking him not to say anything to Victoria. During the meeting, Igor honestly told Volodimir about Victoria's plans. Volodimir was shocked by what he heard. The person he loved and trusted turned out to be a fraud and a treacherous person. At first, Volodimir was confused, but then he came to his senses and offered Aya a deal. He would not allow Victoria to not only get what she wanted, but also to live peacefully. At that time, Victoria had already found a new lover named Vitaly. He was a tall blonde man with a serious expression on his face. This time, she fell in love for real, something that had never happened to her before. She was drawn to Vitaly like a magnet and wanted to spend her whole life with him in a wonderful warm place. When they met, Vitaly told her that he worked as a mechanic at a car service station and that he was not from the area. He rented an apartment on the outskirts of the city and did not have his own car. He also had accumulated debts over several years, which forced him to move from his hometown to another place. He did this to hide from cruel extortionists who had begun to threaten him with violence. Vitaly was the complete opposite of Victoria's usual preferences, but this time she didn't care. She couldn't control her feelings and was willing to do anything for her lover. Victoria dropped everything and rushed to be with Vitaly. Each time they met, it ended with wild passion and love. After a passionate night, the lovers lay in bed and dreamed of their future marriage. Vitaly expressed his love for children, but Victoria would always get angry and insist on living for herself. Little did anyone know, Victoria had undergone multiple abortions since the age of 16 and was unable to have children. After their intimate encounter, Victoria returned home to her partner, Volodymyr, whom she wanted to leave. However, she needed to secure as much money as possible to support her beloved and continue living comfortably. She had to pretend to love Volodymyr more than ever before. Upon arriving home, she would typically take a shower and rest as she had been doing lately. When Volodymyr asked why she was so exhausted, she would make up excuses about urgent matters that needed her attention. Little did he know, Volodymyr was aware of all her affairs. To ensure Vitaly was doing his job correctly, Volodymyr hired a detective to spy on the lovers without Vitaly's knowledge. After the detective completed his work, he presented Volodymyr with photos of Vitaly and Victoria together. Volodymyr was shocked by the woman's audacity and greed. She wanted to take over his business, which he had started at the young age of 20. What was she lacking? She had everything and didn't have to worry about anything. This question consumed Volodymyr's thoughts, but he kept quiet about it. He wanted to surprise her with the truth. One morning, Victoria received a call from Aya, who insisted on meeting. She quickly got ready and went to meet Igor, hoping for good news. He was waiting for her at a cafe on the outskirts of the city. After ordering coffee, he sat in a corner while Victoria entered with a sly smile on her face. She was confident that she would soon become very wealthy. Aya began the conversation, informing her that all the necessary documents were ready and they could start their business. Without hesitation, Victoria signed the documents, happy to become the owner of one of the branches. She believed she had successfully deceived two businessmen. Excited about the news, she went to share it with her beloved Vitaly. They celebrated together, but Victoria couldn't stop thinking about their future luxurious and prosperous life. She had always dreamed of becoming the owner of a branch and starting a new life with Vitaly without having to meet in someone else's apartment. She would finally have her own money, and no one would be able to take it away from her. No one will control her spending, because recently Volodymyr became interested in the fact that a certain amount of money disappeared from his account. Although he already knew well that Victoria had instructed Vitaly to buy a house with a swimming pool and a beautiful landscape. After purchasing the house, Vitaly registered the property with Volodymyr. Suddenly, Victoria's phone rang. It was Tamara's secretary. She spoke quickly and it was impossible to understand her. Victoria just heard that she had to come to the office and that they had serious problems. Not understanding anything, the businesswoman went to work. The celebration had to be postponed. There she was met by people from the anti-narcotics department, as well as representatives of the bank from which she and Volodymyr recently took out a loan. By the way, the loan was issued in the name of Victoria. Of course, this was also part of Volodymyr's revenge plan. It was all a reason, but the woman did not know about it. She was shocked. She was familiarized with the documents that since recently she is the owner of this branch. Therefore, all responsibility rests with her. People from the Drug Enforcement Administration were suspected of manufacturing and distributing drugs. They had a warrant, therefore, without waiting for the owner, they began to search the enterprise. And the representative of the bank said that they have big credit problems. Now they have charged a big fine for non-payment of money. After conducting a search at the production facility, it turned out that drugs were actually manufactured in one of the shops. Shocked and frightened, Victoria began to call Volodymyr, but his phone was turned off. Igor did not answer, and her beloved Vitaly also disappeared. Victoria was arrested on the spot. She received help from the state attorney, since she did not have money for a private one. She didn't have any cash, and all her cards were blocked. The lawyer was a person from Volodymyr's entourage. He said that she had to give up the branch in order to be free. Again, without reading the papers, Victoria signed everything the lawyer gave her. She didn't care what would happen next, although she still hoped for the best. She began to understand that fate had played against her. She was very hurt by the fact that Vitaly had disappeared somewhere. A month later, the trial took place. Victoria was found guilty and was imprisoned for 20 years. After the trial, a lawyer came to see her and wanted to deliver a message for her. Turning on the video on her phone, Victoria saw Volodymyr and Igor sitting together on the wonderful lawn in front of the house. They both sent their congratulations to Victoria and really hoped that she would start a better life. Then the woman saw how Vitaly joined them with a glass of champagne. The men laughingly thanked him for his excellent role. Victoria could barely hold back tears from resentment. Resentment towards Vitaly turned out to be a real scoundrel. That's how he betrayed her. She will definitely seek revenge on all of them as soon as she is released from prison. However, a few days later, Victoria was found hanged in her cell. No one could understand this matter. Apparently, this was the final act of the enraged Volodymyr. One should never underestimate people with a lot of money and try to deceive them, as the consequences will be immediate. Dear listeners, your support is greatly appreciated. If you enjoy our story, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your feedback is crucial in helping us improve our content.